Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me today in this webinar on how to naturally improve your digestion with herbal treatments. So we're going to cover different types of digestive conditions based on Ayurvedic principles, and we're going to cover then different herbal treatments for each of these different categories of digestive problems. And of course, within each of these categories, we have various minor and major digestive issues within each category. But we're going to categorize them into three separate categories. Try to determine which of these three categories you're in, and focus on the herbs that I speak about in the category to address your issue. We're not going to talk that much about food and dietary guidelines and eating habits, but these are essential in good digestion. So, and often the cause of poor digestion is poor eating habits, poor food combining, and eating the wrong types of food for your particular body type or prakriti or dosha. So we'll just cover quickly a few of these eating habits, which I find many people have, which have created many of their digestive problems. One, snacking throughout the day on dry goods, crackers, biscuits, nuts, particularly nuts. I mean, we all know nuts are full of omega-3s like walnuts and have many healthy fats in them. So I think these days we've gone a little bit ambitious on eating nuts, and we just kind of eat them all day long or eat them as snacks. These are very heavy to digest. They can't contain fat, as we know, and that requires bile to emulsify that fat. And there's even protein in nuts, so then you have to use a lot of stomach acids to break these nuts down, digest them. So basically, you ruin your appetite by eating nuts as a snack. And then when the meal comes, you have less appetite, your digestive capacity. And if you eat a full meal, you're going to feel heavy and not be able to digest it. If you don't eat enough, then you're going to be hungry later. And then you fall into a very common vicious cycle of having small meals throughout the day and weaker and weaker and weaker digestion. Very common. So the small meals throughout the day, it's not a healthy practice. I mean, it's everything, whether good or bad these days, is advocated somewhere. So there are people advocating these unhealthy practices, but you can check with your grandparents, you can check with the ancient Romans and the Greeks and the Indian civilizations of the past. They'll all advocate the 3 meals a day. It's been working for thousands of years. And that's because the body needs to recover and recuperate and regenerate its digestive enzymes, its peptic acids and hydrochloric acids, and even body temperature to be able to digest again. And if you keep grazing or snacking throughout the day, then you're draining your digestive capacity, so to speak, not utilizing it after the meal. So your first signs of digestive weakness is that you can't eat a big meal. The other sign of digestive weakness is that you have a lot of food allergies, that you're having difficulty eating different types of food. So in human nature, we love to blame other things and blame other people. We know the wife loves to blame the husband loves to blame the wife, but also we love to blame food instead of taking our own responsibility, our accountability for our own digestion. That's right. So most people who say, oh, I can't eat bread, of course, half of these people probably could digest bread, but just not doing it because they read that even stone ground sprouted wheat bread would be harmful. But the other half maybe are getting heavy, loaded, gassed, constipated, and don't feel good after the wheat. That's just due to your poor digestion. And same with dairy. We're not talking about the white, homogenized, pasteurized, fat-free dairy in our typical store. This is unhealthy, borderline poison use. We're talking about real dairy, raw milk, raw dairy, maybe not even legal in every state, but of course here in California we can buy it in a supermarket. At Sprouts has raw milk here. Our local health food stores have raw dairy. And this is very nutritious, very beneficial, particularly for children. Of course, if you have respiratory problems, and congestion, and excess weight, there's many conditions where a lot of dairy, cheese would not be suitable. And milk is, of course, much harder to digest than, say, yogurt. But pasteurized or homogenized milk is very hard to digest. So if you can't eat butter or you can't have a little bit of yogurt, you're having digestive problems, digestive issues, digesting a little butter or a little dairy, this is your digestion. It's the real problem here. So food allergies are the most common cause of weak result of poor digestion. And just eliminating foods, eliminating this food and eliminating that food and keep eliminating doesn't solve the problem. Problem is digestion. You can see this it's very common in my private practice. People have eliminated so many foods, they run out of foods to eliminate, and they feel weak, frail, and they have even nutritional problems now because they eliminated so many foods. People are eliminating all carbs, and this is unhealthy. They've eliminated all grains. This is not necessary. So then they're depleting themselves over time. And already when you have digestive weakness, then you're having inability to absorb, you could say, extract the nutrients out of the food for your own benefit. So over a long period of time, poor digestion leads to nutritional deficiencies. Poor digestion results in malabsorption. Malabsorption results in nutritional deficiencies, and nutritional deficiencies in time will result in fatigue. So what we often do then is we just take vitamin supplements. We take the B12 in the butt and other stimulating substances, black tea, coffee, green tea, Red Bull. And this is just to kind of stimulate the body because we are actually fatigued because we're nutritionally deficient because we've had digestive weakness for years, in many cases, sometimes even 20 years, 30 years, people have poor digestion. So we're talking about specifically good digestion. So what is good digestion? Good digestion is, number one, having a good appetite. If I've raised a lot of animals and farm animals and house pets, and same with children, if they don't have an appetite, they have a health problem. So many people have had no appetite for years, but just eating anyway, or not eating till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, pigging out all evening long. So this lack of appetite is one sign, of the most clear sign of congestion and blockage in the digestive system, which we can see from this heavy white film on the back of that person's tongue. And the best cure in that case, fast or have ginger tea, and wait until the digestive fire resumed again and not continue to eat. We'll talk about some of those treatments in a moment. So that's the first sign of poor digestion is no appetite. And the first sign of good digestion is a good appetite. Now, in Ayurveda, everything must be balanced. So if your appetite is too strong and you have a big lunch and you are just feeling ravenously hungry after a meal, or you still feel hungry after, you still feel hungry at night, acidity coming out of the meals because you're still so hungry and burning up inside, then this is the same imbalance on the other side of the coin. You don't want to have no appetite, and then you don't want to have so much digestive acids that you're not even you can't go until the next meal without snacking on something or eating something or having acid reflux. So you want a strong appetite, in other words, plenty of hydrochloric and peptic acids in the stomach to stimulate your desire to eat, and you don't want too much. Second, we don't want to have gas and bloating after the meal. Just like a car can run fine even if it's not tuned up. But if you look at the back of the car, we got a lot of smoke coming out the back, maybe blue smoke or black smoke, and it's putting along. It won't have the full strength, but the car will still run. And a mechanic can look at this car and say that the engine's not running well because you can see all the smoke coming out the back. It's the same. Gas and bloating is the same indication. It means that your digestive system, which is your main engine, your metabolic engine that's taking the food and extracting your carbohydrates, protein, fatty acids, micronutrients for your benefit, is not working well. And so ultimately, the food is not completely digested and you get gas and bloating. So if you have gas and bloating, you have poor digestion. And then the other good sign of after a meal of good digestion is you feel good. For the meal, you feel hungry. After the meal, you feel like you could go for a walk or do something. You feel heavy, sluggish, sleepy, or have to take a nap after a meal, drink a cup of coffee because you feel like you're going to doze out. And this is also a digestive imbalance, a digestive weakness. And we're going to talk about these different types of digestive imbalances. So I'm just giving a little overview here of what is good digestion. Good appetite, but not so strong that you can't make it to the next meal. No gas and bloat, no acid reflux. And then, of course, we have to mention elimination. When I speak of digestion, I'm thinking of where the upper half of the intestinal tract, stomach, bile, and enzymes that are necessary to digest, break down carbohydrates, fat, protein. But then the second half is elimination of the waste material, the unsoluble fiber, and other matter that's non-absorbable into the body. And this needs to be eliminated on a timely basis. So if you're having 2-3 meals a day, then you should be eliminating 2-3 meals a day. 2-3 meals a day through your bowel movement. If you're only going one time a day, then this is minor constipation. If you're missing one day, this is serious constipation. If you're going 2 or 3 days without a bowel movement, then this is very serious. And it's affecting your life adversely. It's creating autotoxicity in your system, burdening your liver, probably creating headache, pain, joint pain, inflammation, and a host of other problems because you don't have healthy elimination. So best if you're going eliminating the same amount that you're consuming. So if you're consuming 3 meals a day, it'd be nice to be doing 3 bowel movements a day. For all my patients who are only doing 1 bowel movement a day and we're through diet and herbs now doing 3 or 2 bowel movements a day, they all say very clearly they have more energy, they have more appetite, they feel better after meals, and other health issues such as inflammation also reduce once the bowel movements are moving on a regular basis. So want a good appetite, want to feel good after the meal, and not feel heavy, not feel acidic, and have energy. That means your body was able to take those protein, fat, and carbohydrates and convert it over in a smooth manner without a lot of burping and farting, and turn it into fuel to run on for the next 4 or 5 hours until the next meal. So that's good digestion. One of the other common causes of poor digestion is poor food combining. One of the most common food combining errors they make is mixing fruit together with their meal, mixing fruit with their smoothie and their kale, and mixing fruit with coconut oil and blending it all together with some frozen berries and some kale and drinking it. This is going to create gas, bloating. And one reason a person who does these smoothies doesn't have much appetite is because it's very hard to digest cold foods and foods that are too many foods are combined together. So as we all know, Hippocrates, other ancient healthcare systems through time, fruit should be eaten separately. Fruit eaten even with other fruits, melons by themselves, sweet fruits by themselves, sour fruits by themselves, as snacks between the meals. So remember, you've got those 3 meals. Now, what do you have between the meals? this little fruit to give you a little energy and to clean you out, because fruit's very cleansing. Many people who have mild constipation are getting it just from having dry goods, crackers, biscuits, organic protein bars, nuts, chips in between the meals, and this constipates them. So just moving from nuts and chips and dry goods over to juicy, sweet fruit, blueberries, grapes. Instead of having those chips at night, have some blueberries at night. Instead of having those cookie in the day, eat an apple. And that may be enough just to keep your bowels moving up to a healthy level of 2 or 3 times a day. So first, you need to have a proper food combining. Things to learn about proper food combining, but the best thing you can do if you're having digestive problems is simplify your dishes. Don't mix a lot of foods together, and cook the foods. Cooked foods are easier to digest than raw foods, of course. If you're a scientist in a laboratory, I know some originally scientists got in a laboratory and looked at cooked foods and uncooked foods. They found that when they're cooked, some water soluble, particularly vitamin C. So the conclusion was that, it must be better to eat uncooked foods because there's more vitamins in them. Well, that's more of a theory than a fact. It's kind of a jump in understanding, because the digestion system does much better with cooked food. So as per Ayurveda, anybody with digestive problems, we put them on all cooked foods. Not to say that salads are unhealthy, but if you're having a lot of gas and bloating while eating a salad, you could take the same vegetables and have it in a soup, and you won't have the gas and bloating. And besides, so you can eat a lot more get a lot more vitamins and nutrients if you just have greater volume. And you can't eat a volume of, say, carrots. So, but you can have carrot soup. So you could have 10 carrots and you could just drink them up when they're soup. It's going to give you more vitamins and nutrients than chewing on one hard carrot. So there's a few false beliefs about digestion. Another one is that during your digestive problems, done with enzymes. So that was advocated by the late Bernard Jensen. And in his memoirs, he did say this was a mistake, that he overprescribed digestive enzymes and found himself dependent on digestive enzymes later in life. So we now know that these do create dependency, and that's because your body is supposed to be creating these digestive enzymes through your pancreas. And if you just keep taking the digestive enzymes, actually we can have the pancreas become less active and not produce them, just like with the thyroid. If you have underactive thyroid and you take thyroid medication, then the thyroid can just stop functioning, because you're taking, it's like a replacement therapy. Instead of your body making the enzyme or the hormone, then you're taking it. So the gland that's supposed to make this enzyme or hormone will stop working over time. So it's not advisable to take digestive enzymes except in very specific cases, maybe a very elderly person near death. There's no point to fix their digestion and have digestive enzymes because they're elderly at this point. And there's some cases where we have like pancreatitis or a blocked pancreas, or where taking digestive enzymes is necessary because of the poor pancreas function. But you shouldn't resort to them if you're not fixing the problem. What we're going to talk about today is resolving the digestive problem. You can go back and join the human population and have bread. You can go back to enjoying a little butter on your rice and your sweet potato. You can go back to eating full meals again instead of snacking and grazing throughout the day, and not have reaction all the food, not have either acidity or gas or burping or discomfort or heaviness after meals. That's what we want, good digestion. And one more thing before we get into the types of digestion, we have to understand the importance of digestion. According to Ayurveda, all health problems will result from poor digestion, because poor digestion creates undigested food, which is a type of toxin in the body, we call ama. So just like if an engine's burning the fuel, but it's not, the fuel air mixture is not good, and the engine's not running well, it makes a lot of soot, and eventually this will clog up the engine and the carburetor old days, and the engine will perform less efficiently because of this congestion formed in the carburetor, the rings, and the valves because of its combustion. Same with the body. When you don't have good digestion, say you don't have much appetite and you're eating and you feel heavy and sleepy, you're kind of clogging and congesting the body. And this is the number one cause of weight gain. Or eating habits, snacking on nuts, snacking at night, these are common issues. But poor digestion, when it's very easy to gain weight. And when the digestion is very good, you're eating these big meals and you're not gaining weight. Many overweight people came to me and said that, I'm not even eating much and I'm still putting on weight. That's a sign of poor digestion. Of course, after asking questions, I found out they don't have appetite. They said, I can't believe I'm not gaining much. I'm gaining weight because I'm not even that hungry. That's the reason they're not gaining weight, because they have to eat. Eventually, the appetite is going to come. It's just going to come later in the day, and then they could have binge eating and things like that because they've been kind of starving themselves all day because they haven't had an appetite to eat, and the body eventually becomes depleted, tired, fatigued, and then they'll crave sweets and sugars and even binge eat to make up for this lack of eating all day. So in that case, it's better to stimulate the appetite, get the person hungry in the morning so they actually eat something at least by 10 o'clock and have a full meal. Then don't eat for 3, 4, 5 hours. Wait until the appetite comes back again, and then eat. And then try to do another 5 or 6 hours without eating, and then have a meal. So sticking to the 2 or 3 meals a day with the breaks in between, and only eating when you're hungry. Never eat when you're not hungry. I know many men have, and I'm sure women as well, are married to great cooks. And a great cook makes a great meal and expects people to sit down at the table and eat the meal with them. But if you're not hungry, you don't have any appetite because you were snacking on nuts or had a big cold smoothie not too long ago, and you eat this tasty pasta, you're just clogging up your system, congesting your body, putting on more weight, and creating even toxins in the body that can lead to other health problems in the future. So digestion is critical. Anybody who comes to me with any health condition, doesn't matter what it is, then we always fix digestion, elimination, and sleep in the nervous system, because these nervous conditions can even contribute to digestive problems. So when the nervous system is overly stimulated, overly sensitive, and you have anxiety and insomnia, then you're not getting good sleep, and you become weak, fatigued in the day, and you're more tempted to go for the coffee and the stimulants and the other substances instead of nutrition. So when you're eating sugar and you're having cravings for sweets, and you're eating this instead of a nutritional meal, you're often doing this because you're nutritionally deprived and you just need energy, you need a little boost. The main reason people are having these stimulants is because of poor nutrition. And even if they're eating good food, you could be eating all the best food from the farm, from the organic restaurant or organic store, but if you don't have a digestion to digest it, then it's still unhealthy. And on the other side of the coin, if you're just not maybe eating the best food in the world from the supermarket, but you have really good digestion, really good elimination, you're probably accumulating less toxins than the person eating all organic food who has gas, bloating, and constipation. So it's not always what we eat and that's important. It's what we're able to digest. Okay? So I hope that motivates you to improve your digestion. And now let's look at breaking down our digestion and looking at the different kind of categories of digestive imbalance according to Ayurveda. So the first type of digestive imbalance is called Stoma Agni, or is typical for a Vata body type or Prakriti. And this is a type of digestion this we could say is a little weak. And it means variable digestion. Sometimes hungry, sometimes not hungry, easy to get gas and bloating, picky, sensitive, can eat some foods but can't eat other foods. has trouble with raw vegetables, cabbage, broccoli, gas, easy to get constipated. Stools can get dry easy, sometimes really hungry, sometimes skipping meals. And generally, this person tends to be colder in their body temperature and has many types of difficulties in eating many foods in life. And as a child, they're generally the type who's a little picky. So this is a type of digestive state, which is very common for the Prakriti or body type, for a person who's thin, cold, light, dry by nature. So for this type of person, we want to help support the digestion with proper foods that are matched to that person's digestive system. Nobody can tell you. You never want to listen to what somebody tells you to eat. Anybody who's telling you to eat this one diet that they ate, it's a type of narcissism. They're believing that everybody is the same as themselves. They're not capable of being the individuality of others and empathizing with other people's issues. In this case, other people's digestive weaknesses. So if you're reading in a book about a diet or you're reading online about a diet, this is more than likely not suitable for you. I mean, there's a chance it could be suitable for you. And there's probably a high chance that the person who wrote the book or wrote the article, it worked for them, but we are not the same by any means. So you need to really individualize your own diet for yourself. So this person, who has the Vata, or variable Agni, Ayurveda, needs mostly cooked foods, soft foods, warm foods, because they tend to be cold. Cold foods will give them gas and bloating. They have not a strong digestion, so they don't do good with milk, but they do fine with yogurt, which is easier to digest. They don't do well with salads, but they do well with soups because they're warm and easier to digest. So those are just a few of the guidelines. We're going to cover the herbs in a minute. So just take note, if you have that type, you could call it Vata type of imbalance. So Vata type. So the next type is Pitta type. Pitta means fire. And this type of person has a strong digestive system. We call it Trikshna Agni, which Agni means your digestive fire. And Trikshna means sharp. This person's like, I'm hungry. Give me some food. Sharpness. And if you've ever lived with this type of person, they need to eat in the morning, or they get irritable, angry, short-tempered, and often this type of person has acidity, heartburn, has difficulty going from lunch to dinner without having another snack or having something cooling or sweet in between to satiate their strong appetite, put out their stomach acids that are being produced all the time. So this is a type of person by nature tends to have a warmer body temperature. Even as children, they are the type who are throwing off the covers and don't like the sun, and sweat easy, and their face tends to be more red and warm. So this is what we call Pitta Prakriti, or Pitta body type, and they get what's called Trikshna Agni, sharp Agni. Now, any of the three types Ayurveda could have other types of digestive problems, and even you could have two of these digestive problems simultaneously. But for this course, we're simplifying it, just looking at the three major types of body types and the three common digestive imbalances. Because in fact, most people are double, two types. It could be Pitta and Vata, Vata and Pitta, Pitta and Kapha, Kapha and Pitta. So we're just simplifying it here for this course. So if you're this Pitta type and you're warm, hot, hungry, and have a tendency towards acid reflux, and even maybe loose stools, and you have strong appetite, then you have what's called Trikshna Agni, sharp Agni, sharp digestive fire, very hungry, irritable person if you don't eat. Well, the first type, the Vata type, Shama Agni, variable digestive condition, this person tends to be more lightheaded and spacey when they don't get enough, when they're not eating or don't have enough food. So the third, well, back to the second type there. So that's set for food. The second type, Trikshna, they shouldn't have spicy foods, hot foods, sour foods, and need more cooling foods. And this type does very well because they have the strong appetite, the hot, body temperature, and salads are cooling and take a lot of digestive fire to digest, and they have this strong appetite. So salads are very suitable for this type. This type usually doesn't have any trouble with wheat, dairy, have a very strong appetite, but they can't do spicy food, hot foods, really, too much black pepper, cayenne, mustard, fermented food can really aggravate it. Sometimes people are just drinking, fermented drinks all day, and this is creating a stronger appetite, creating stronger acidity. Sour things, lemon, lime, vinegar. You wouldn't want to give apple cider vinegar to this type of person. They already get acidity and GERD and have a strong appetite. So that would be all counterindicated. And even acidic foods like tomatoes and other nightshades like eggplant, paprika, bell pepper, and white potato would be avoided for that particular person to not have that appetite so strong that they can't make it from lunch to dinner. The third type is the Kapha Prakriti or Kapha body type. This person tends to be heavier, slower, and a slower metabolism, a slower pulse, doesn't have much appetite, easy to gain weight. Their body type is more round, full-bodied, more shapely, husky, bear-like, and like I said, a slower metabolism. And they do very good on spicy food. Somebody just asked me that question. There's your answer. Yes, Kapha type does very good on hot, spicy food because they need the stimulation. They tend to have too much mucosa in the stomach lining. They don't do good with dairy. Clogs them up, slows them down, and they do good with hot, spicy foods to stimulate their digestion, stimulate their metabolism, and get it moving. And even this person can do okay even on coffee. They tend to be heavy sleepers, slow, heartbeat, slow to get moving. So coffee helps them in that regard. So coffee can be medicine for some people, can be poison for a person who has anxiety and nervousness. And dairy would be unhealthy for this person. They get easy to get respiratory congestion, clogging, lack of appetite, and weight gain. So we wouldn't want much dairy in that case. But for the person who gets the acid reflux, the heartburn, and the acidity, and has a strong appetite, cheese, dairy, even the milk can help to pacify that condition. So don't get stuck in believing things are good or bad. Dairy's good, dairy's bad. I hear it every day. This is just kind of like what we say, adolescent type of thinking, toddler thinking, the toddlers, they always say, is it good? Is it bad? Daddy, is it good? Daddy, is it bad? It's very simple thinking. It's a little more sophisticated in that. We know life isn't as simple as everything. It's just good and bad. It can be bad for one person and a bad thing can be good for another person. And that's definitely the case when it comes to food. So what may be good for you, suitable for your type, may be not suitable for another, maybe not suitable even for your own child. So don't force foods on children. I've been giving dietary guidelines for over 20 years. And when people say, I hate a food, I just say, okay, fine, don't eat that food. We don't want to go against the natural inclination of the body. We have to listen to the body. The body's always communicating to us. And one of the biggest mistakes we have in our modern world in this time of confusion, we're no longer in the information age. That was some time ago. Now we're in the age of confusion due to too much information. As we all know, everybody's confused about what to eat. And that's because we have too much information. We're not listening to our bodies anymore. We're listening to the internet, Facebook, and other sources that have no connection with our health, no knowledge of our health, and you can find everything good and bad, right and wrong on the internet. So it almost becomes difficult to treat yourself for almost any health condition anymore through the internet without a better knowledge of what you're looking for, or at least knowing the right questions to ask, because there's just too much information now. And that's why many people are confused. Changing diets, radical diets, highly restrictive diets. These are all fads. All the diets are fad. Every single one you read about. Just because there's an MD's name after it doesn't make it not a fad. There's many MDs that are not even in practice, never even seen clients, written books, and promoting their form of what's a diet. And so we have to be very careful here, and we have to listen to our body, know your own body type, know what works for you. And this is what Ayurveda teaches you if you meet with an Ayurvedic practitioner or doctor, will identify your body type and match the foods to you that will be easy for you to digest and balance your digestive system. Because ultimately, you can't be happy if you're eating foods you don't like. And I'd say half the clients who come to me with digestive systems have tried radical diets, which is very difficult for the body to radically change the diet. And now they are a lot of foods that they don't like because they think it's good for them. So don't eat something just because you think or read that it's good for you. And yes, somebody asked me a question about the Vata. Well, the Vata diet, a Vata person should be eating more food than the other type because they're weak, thin, underweight. But they have to be more careful with the types of foods that they have because their digestive system is weaker by nature. So the Kapha type, I failed to mention the name in Ayurveda, it's called Manda Agni. Agni means their digestive fire. Manda means dull. So a dull digestive system. You're not that hungry. So we have 3 types. I hope you found which type you're mostly in. The Vishama Agni, variable, sometimes hungry, sometimes not hungry, with a lot of gas and bloating, easy to get constipated. And then the Trikshna Agni, which has strong appetite and easy to get acid reflux and even loose stools. And then Manda Agni, the dull appetite where you're not hungry until even 1 or 2 o'clock, and then often have a tendency to eat late, and there's a lot of weight gain often involved in that. So now let's talk about the treatments for these 3 categories. And let's talk about some individual herbs first. One of the best herbs for Manda Agni, no appetite, and to some degree, Vishama Agni, this weak appetite, would be just ginger. Ginger tea is probably one of the best home remedies you could imagine for weak digestion, not hungry. Now, if you're the Trikshna Agni and you're really hungry all the time, don't be doing ginger tea. You would want to do what they give you after you leave a restaurant, and that is a fennel seeds. And when you leave an Indian restaurant, often there's a little bowl of fennel, and you eat those fennel after the meal, and then you're not so hungry anymore. So they don't want you going out the door and being hungry. So it helps with your digestion, tones down the digestive fire. So if you have a strong appetite, you can have fennel seeds, fennel tea after the meal. Fennel is sweet and cooling. And if you have not much appetite and you're not that hungry, then you can have ginger tea before the meal to get the appetite going. Even drinking ginger tea all day. You can even put a little lemon in that ginger tea to even make it more sour and improve your digestion. You can even get the ginger and chew on it before the meal. And if you're getting a lot of gas and bloating after the meal and you're a Vata type with a variable digestion, you can have the ginger tea after the meal. But to stimulate the appetite, you can get a little piece of ginger. Fresh ginger would be more suitable. And you can slice it off, put a little bit of lemon on it, squeeze a little lemon on that slice of ginger, and put a little pinch of salt on it, and then chew on it before the meal. And this will stimulate the appetite. So even if you're trying to lose weight, you have a good appetite. So those are one of the 2 best herbs or spices we could. One of the best spices that we could use for gas and bloating is cumin. Cumin seed. Cumino, one of the most common spices used in Hispanic Mexican food, South America, and that's because it helps to avoid gas and bloating and abdominal discomfort while eating beans. So very good for Vata is to have cumin and a ginger tea. The ginger is warming up the cold Vata, getting the digestion going, and the cumin helps with the gas and bloating. It feels very good. In fact, you can do cumin tea, cumin rice. You just put a couple of teaspoons of cumin in your rice and eat it. It feels fantastic. Then coriander, another from, cilantro is the leaf and coriander is the seed, same plant. Coriander is cool by nature and goes very well with fennel. So if you're a Pitta type and you have a little weak digestion and a little acidity, coriander and fennel. Very nice to have after the meal or even before the meal. And if you're a dry person, dry stools, And you can even sip these teas right during the meal to help hydrate the body. And another great herb is ajwan. It's related to the celery seed. It's got a nice flavor to it, and very good for gas and bloating. And then we use these in products here to help you with your digestion. And I would say every single client is receiving one of these 3 products, because most people have one of these 3 imbalances to some degree. So this one is called Vata Digestive Tea. And we can see the ingredients on there. Peppermint, which is, like a minty digestive aid. Lemon balm, it's a little. And there we have cumin, licorice, fennel, cardamom, and ajwan. This is very nice, pleasant digestive tea. You can have it during the meals. If you're Vata type, it says it's for Vata type of digestive problems, for gas and bloating after meals. Very effective. You can give it to children. You can even mix it with milk for babies who are having a digestive discomfort, and it works very, very well, very quickly. And you can make this at home. Do just what I said: get cumin, ginger, little coriander. If you can find some ajwan, blend them all together, equal amounts, and make a little tea from it and sip it during the meals. Very, very effective. And so the next one is pitta digestion. Remember, pitta, this person has a strong appetite, so it gently strengthens the digestion before meals and reduces appetite after meals. And its main ingredient is a little spearmint in there to kind of fill it out. But the first ingredient is fennel, then coriander, then a little cumin, then some cinnamon, and then cardamom. Cardamom is considered the king of spices. Once it was valued more than the price of gold itself. But fortunately, gold price has gone up and cardamom prices have gone down. So it's a big difference today by weight, but it's still an expensive spice. And it's a little spicy, but sweet. So it's very suitable for the type who doesn't do good with spicy foods, hot foods, acidic foods. And then for the Kapha type, remember, Kapha type has no appetite, gaining weight, not that hungry, sluggish, slow. So we give them a very strong that stimulates digestion for meals, overcomes heavy after meals, and also this one helps with blood sugar because of fenugreek. Peppermint, a lot of ginger, cumin, a little coriander, cinnamon, fenugreek, cloves, and black pepper. This is a very hot. It's almost like a chai, basically. It's like a chai tea. It's very hot and robust. You have this in the morning, and then early in the morning, and then the appetite becomes strong, and then you eat around 10 o'clock instead of putting it off at 2 or 3 o'clock, and that's what you want, because you need to eat something that before you start going throughout your day, so you have the energy to do it, and you don't get these cravings later in the day. And as we know, at one time in history, spices were very valued very much, and like I said, cardamom was equal to the price of gold at one time. And we know the whole spice trade was formed originally by the Portuguese, who went around to circumvent the trading of spices that was being brought from the South Asian Peninsula, India, and then they were shipped over to the Arab Peninsula, and then they were taken across the Arab desert there by the Saudis at the time, or the Arabs at the time, and taken to Lebanon and sold to the Mediterranean countries, the European countries, and distributed all through Europe. And of course, they were doubling the price, tripling the price. And this went on for hundreds of years. But it shows that the interest in these spices, cumin, coriander, ginger, cardamom, were so valued that the Europeans were paying top dollar, and it was a huge trade of having these spices come from the Far East and South Asia. And it inspired the Portuguese to cut all these people out, sail all the way around the Horn of Africa, and get to India, which they believe they landed in Goa, which is still a kind of a Portuguese churches are there today. And they were started the spice trade directly, circumventing the Indians and the Arabs. And it was their whole business, bringing the herbs back to Europe, lower price, and it started a whole colonial process from the Portuguese on. So it shows you that the important spice all through history, and that's because they knew that they were good for digestion. And if digestion's poor, health is poor. If health is poor, well, you're going to have other health issues if you don't resolve your digestion, your health issues. So cooking more with spices is probably the easiest way to improve your digestion. And again, we make little seasonings here for particular types. There's one for Vata. This is good for gas and bloating. And some of the similar spices that I talked about in the tea, but they're in a base of turmeric. Coriander, cumin, turmeric, fennel, ginger, cinnamon, ajwain, asafoetida, which is related to garlic and used in Indian cooking to avoid gas and bloating. So this is also very helpful for gas and bloating. So if you're having digestive problems and you're in a sense Vata type or Vishama Agni, where you're getting a lot of gas and bloating, having this tea after the meal, cooking with the spices in the food will help you tremendously. Probably eliminate it, particularly if you clean up the eating habits and improve your food combining. Now, if you have acid reflux, heartburn, strong appetite, irritability, and you can't deal with spicy foods because this aggravates this condition. In other words, you're this Pitta type of condition or Trikshna Agni, hot, burning Agni, then we give you out this spice. And it says spice or seasoning, but it's not hot. It's actually sweet. So we call it sweet Pitta seasoning. See, coriander is the first ingredient, not turmeric, and fennel, and cumin, and then the cardamom, and a little salt, and asafoetida. So it's actually sweet. You could give it to a young child. It's very sweet and cooling, and actually brings down the appetite and helps with the digestion of the food. So not all spice has to be hot. That's an example of a sweet and cooling spice. So you could give even to a 3 or 4 year old child will be fine with that spice. So that's suitable for the Pitta type, because if we give them too much spice generally increases appetite, makes the appetite stronger, particularly if they're hot, pungent spices. But these sweet spices like fennel and coriander are cooling and actually reduce the appetite, but still help with digestion. And last, we have the Kapha type, who has very little appetite and likes spicy foods. So we have the hot Kapha seasoning. And, turmeric, coriander, cumin, ginger, black pepper, and mustard seeds, cinnamon, and cayenne pepper, and some very little salt. And you notice the Pitta one didn't have mustard in it, didn't have ginger in it, didn't have black pepper in it. But this Kapha one is very spicy, very hot, and quite putting on beans and food to help you so you don't feel heavy after the meals. So each of the 3 types should be using spices in different manners. Now, of course, in Ayurveda, there's traditional formulas that are made for each of these conditions, because it's very sophisticated science. They don't just give you digestive enzymes and pat you on the back, but try to help you with the digestive system. So again, we have traditional formulas. I've just put them in jars. The traditional formula here is called Hingvastika, and I call it Vata post-digest, taken after meals, so gas and bloating, and it's very effective. And this is many of the similar herbs, cumin, black pepper, salt, and ginger, but also other herbs like chakrat, which is considered a premier post-digestive herb in Ayurveda. It's warming and heating and helps with digestion. And we have also, and the herb, the powders like this are even more effective and more powerful than teas. The teas are infusions, so they tend to be a little weaker, a little lighter. So if you had really serious gas and bloating, I would give you one of these powders and the tea. And if I had to choose between one, I'd rather choose the powder. They're more effective because you're actually taking these spices and the herbs, they're grind up, and you're ingesting them. So they're going to be much more effective than just taking the infusion. And this one here is for the Pitta type. It's coming from the Ayurvedic formula called Aviprakitar. And Aviprakitar is sweet using cardamom, fennel, coriander, and it's very cooling. And we use it for acid reflux and heartburn. So we're taking this after meals to avoid more acidity right after the meals. Now, while we're on the subject of acid reflux, we have formulas for acute conditions. First, you have to, of course, change the diet, no spicy foods, no sour foods, and make sure food combining is right. And then these pitta tea or this pitta post-digest, which I just mentioned, could be given. But if there's still acute cases, then we have this acidity formula here, the traditional Ayurvedic formula, using powdered shells and powdered pearl. That's pearl. I have a pound of powdered pearl, mukti pishti we call it, and it's been processed and treated. They cook it and treat it in different herbs to make it digestible, but and also it can use coral, pearl, shells, and these are all three are in this acidity formula, and it just works like a Tums or an acid reflux. It just snuffs out the acidity instantly. And I've never taken Tums or anything like that, but people have told me that this formula works equally as well. The first ingredient is coral powder, digestible coral powder, and there's also this pearl in there too, which is very cooling and sweet. So that would just be for acute cases. Well, the original formula that I showed you here, made of Abhiprakita or Pitta post-digest, this would do it for most people who just have a tendency towards acid reflux. It's cooling. It's very sweet. It's actually tasty. One of the tastiest little formulas you can imagine because of the fennel in it. It makes it kind of sweet, and the licorice, very tasty and sweet. Works very well. Now, if you're the Kapha type, remember you feel heavy, and sluggish and tired. You want a hot heating help to digest. We have this Kapha post-digest, and this is coming from the famous Ayurvedic formula called Trikatu. Trikatu means three sharp, spicy substances, which ginger, black pepper, and the pipali. We also put in chikra, which is a dipana, a post-digestive aid used in Ayurveda. So there's a few herbs in there, but mostly it's Trikatu, which is ginger, black pepper, and pipali, which is a type of long pepper, Indian long pepper. So it's very hot, very spicy, feels very good. And if you feel heavy and tired after meals, even if you had a Kapha type and you had the big pizza at 11 o'clock at night, you feel, oh my God, I shouldn't hate that pizza. I feel like a rock. Well, you could take this Trikatu or even just ginger tea after that meal, and you will feel better. And same if you have any of these digestive complaints. Say you just were snacking all day and you had your crazy smoothie of kale and blueberries and coconut oil all blended all up together and frozen strawberries, and you felt like burping and farting, and you felt, oh my God, swelling. And you could have even the Vata digestive tea. You could even have ginger, cumin, coriander tea, and one of these digestive aids just to get rid of that gas and bloating, even if it's not your daily problem. So even for myself, if I get gas and bloating for whatever reason, driving a car all day long or something, and I feel bloated and gas, and I can take this substance. If I eat the pizza at midnight, then I can take the Kapha one that's hot and helps me digest it. And if you are too hungry, you can take the Pitta one, which is very cooling. So the idea is to balance, get it just right, get the digestive system working just right. Just like the car mechanic, you would adjust the air on the carburetor and the fuel mixture and get it just right so it's burning the fuel clean without any waste, and then you have the best performance out of the engine. And that is the same. What we're doing in Ayurveda is we're doing the same thing. Here's a few more teas. This one is also for acid reflux and heartburn. It's called Calm Belly. Reduces abdominal pain, inflammation, heartburn, acid reflux. And the first ingredient there is alfalfa. And the anti-inflammatory is cat's claw. And marshmallow is mucoloid. And lemon balm is cooling. Chamomile is like antispasmodic in this case. Marshmallow root is also soothing. Fennel, cooling. Coriander, cooling. So this works very well if you drink this during the day to avoid acid reflux and heartburn. And so let's move on. I have one more digestive aid, which is for all types of people, most Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, or anybody. If for that matter. And it's called long-term digestive aid. This is what I would send somebody that I cared about or just want to help you with your digestive system. This is what I want to send her. And it's called long-term digestive aid. And it's just got these basic spices, cumin, coriander, fennel, with a little what's called triphala, which is made of 3 eliminating herbs that are dried fruits, amlaki, vibataki, and haritaki. So this helps with the digestion, tastes pretty good, and also helps with the elimination. And like the title says, long-term digestion, you can take this long-term, even when you don't have serious digestive problems. And I tend to take it every day a little bit. It feels very good. I don't have big digestive problems. Sometimes it doesn't feel great. I have a little bit after a meal. And if I'm not that hungry and it's dinner time, I take a little bit before the meal. And it helps very, very quickly. And results are immediately undeniable. They're working very nice to just help you on a daily basis to keep your digestion strong. So now we're going to jump ahead to the other side of digestion, and it's elimination. And one reason that people have poor digestion is because they have poor elimination. If the food's not moving out quickly, you tend not to have much appetite. If you have bowel movement in the morning, you tend to be hungry. You can often see this with children. They say, eat your food, eat your food, eat your food. They don't eat, then they go off to the toilet, and as soon as they come back, they're hungry again. But we're the same. You can get up in the morning, and if we don't get a little activity and move around and drink some water, we don't have our early morning bowel movement. We don't feel like eating. As soon as we go to the toilet, suddenly we're hungry. So it's very important to have an early morning bowel movement. As soon as you get up in the morning, to eliminate before you leave your bedroom. And then your appetite will be good in the kitchen, and your whole day will start off much better by having this early morning elimination and then having a nice appetite in the morning. So healthy elimination is very, very important. But people have different types of elimination problems. If a person is vata, they tend to have dry skin, dry mouth, and they're dry. Often they have dry, hard stools and can be very constipated, even going for days. And I've met people even up to a week who weren't having bowel movements. So then we'd have a very strong formula. This is Vata Colon Cleanse. And this is a strong laxatives, strong colon detox formula. And it's using all Ayurvedic herbs, including haritaki in castor oil, and vibataki, amlaki, and some carsata sagrada, ginger, and licorice to make it smooth. Ginger gives like a catalyst, and licorice is making it soothing and more gentle on the body and helping to improve the moisture. So that works very good for serious constipation, particularly when there's dry, hard stools involved. If you're really constipated and you haven't gone for a few days, then I just give a little bottle of castor oil here, an old home remedy you can ask your mom about, or grandma, and you can take a couple tablespoons of that at night, and that will definitely break up serious constipation. And that's not recommended for daily use, at least on a couple tablespoons would be too much on a daily basis. But 1 teaspoon a day is very effective and even helps with arthritic pains. If you're constipated and you have arthritic pain, 1 teaspoon of castor oil will keep the bowels moving and help with pain. And that's very inexpensive and very effective cure. And there's no denying the power of castor oil. If you've ever had a couple tablespoons of castor oil, you know this is one powerful laxative. And of course, it's good to constipated. You have a ruptured colon, and people do die from this. Many animals can have blockages in the colon from eating, too much, grazing all day, eating too much dry foods, or eating, things that block their colon, and it can be a very serious condition. Even for humans, it can result in a blocked colon, a ruptured colon. But more often, it's resulting in autotoxicity, where you're not getting these toxins that were accompanied with your bile out at a steady pace, and then you reabsorb them back into the bloodstream, burden the liver, and this leads to liver toxicity. And we can touch on that. The next one is, we're going to go right to Kapha. Kapha is also tends to be a big, heavy person. It's a strong colon cleanser, a little bit hotter, not quite as powerful as the Vata one. Good for more sticky, congestive stools. When you have, it's good to look at your bowel, because this is important. If you're a veterinarian, you're you're caring for a lot of animals, you know the value of looking at the droppings and the bowel movements to see if there's worms, see if they're too dry, see if they're too dark, see if they're blackish, and, you know, other indications you can get from the bowel movements. So if they're sticky, you know, and sticking all over the toilet, it's not a healthy sign. You want floating bowel movements, not sinking bowel movements, and you don't want too strong of a smell. Everybody's saying, "Oh my God, what happened? Something died in the bathroom." Then you have probably a lot of congestion in the colon, and that's accumulated over a long period of time, and it becomes toxic. So that would be the perfect formula to get that out of your body. Now, if you happen to have like loose stools and don't really have a constipation problem, but you actually can have like loose movements and even 4 or 5 a day, then we have one for the opposite. It's a Pitta one, and it's kind of for loose stools and a minor constipation. And we have another version called Pitta 2, which is also for loose stools, but a little constipated, like you're only going once a day. So we have little variations. And of course, we have herbs for diarrhea. If you have a diarrhea, if you have inflammation in the colon, the first treatment we use for inflammation in the colon is a diarrhea formula made of bilva, katuja, and another Ayurvedic formula using pomegranate skin that pretty much can firm up the bowel movements and stop the diarrhea quite quickly. So, you know, some people have loose stools, some people have constipated stools, some people are dry, some people are sticky. So, you know, based on the type of digestive state, the condition of the bowel movements can determine what type of colon formula you need. And we couldn't not talk about the liver if we're talking about digestion. I have a liver tea here, dandelion root, milk thistle, burdock root, some little licorice and ginger in there. And that's to help improve the bile flow and help to cleanse out the liver. And this is very common gallbladder congestion. It's, I think, the number one type of surgery in the United States. I think as much as 6 or 7% of the entire adult population in the United States has their gallbladder removed. So it's very common, but the herbs work very well in cleaning out the gallbladder. The dandelion, burdock, milk thistle is a type of formula that's been working for hundreds of years, and it does work. And of course, there's many causes: fried foods, fatty foods, poor digestion, poor eating habits, poor food combining that lead to it. But ultimately, you have to, once you have it, you need to detox and cleanse out the liver, or you won't be able to have oily foods or have too much oil, because you won't have the bile to break down or emulsify these fats and get them into fatty acids, and then you'll start to have dry skin and even a fatty diarrhea because you're not digesting your fats. So that can be a whole other category of digestive problems. Many things can affect your digestion. Just stress can affect your digestion. Here's a very good question. Thanks for bringing it up. Are probiotics necessary if you follow your constitutional diet and herbs? I don't think so. The only time I'm really prescribing or recommending probiotics is when people have antibiotics in the last 6 months. It takes months to recover from a strong dose of antibiotics where it's destroying both your unhealthy bacteria, which is its purpose, and then also take it along with it your healthy bacteria. But if you're eating some amount of fermented foods every day, a little yogurt in your meal, a little fermented sauerkraut, if you're a Kaufman, you can't deal with the yogurt, and this is all you need. You know, this probiotics are expensive ways to have fermented food. And if we look again traditionally, we can see that all cultures, you know, Indian, Chinese, Roman, Greek, they all used fermented foods to some degree in their diet. They all knew the value of these fermented foods. You should always have some fermented foods. I have a whole YouTube video on fermented foods per body type. Yogurt being the best for the vata, and maybe like a kefir for the pitta, and fermented vegetables, particularly cabbage for the kapha. And it's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. And I hope all of these guidelines helped you at least to have a better understanding of the importance of healthy digestion and good elimination, and hopefully gave you some tips in how you can very easily improve your digestion with just common household spices. And if you have serious digestive problems that are chronic and affecting your health, then you should get professional help where I can have stronger formulas and more specific dietary guidelines to help resolve these digestive problems very quickly. Of all my areas of expertise, I think digestion is one of my strengths, and this would include inflammatory colon conditions like ulcerative colitis, IBS, and other inflammatory conditions, including stomach ulcers, and as such. So those are more specific treatments, but they still in line with the digestion, and they're often caused by the similar causes of poor food combining, poor eating habits, and eating the wrong foods for your particular constitution or body type. Okay, so if you need any help in identifying your body type, what foods work best for you, and receiving some herbs or spices and the traditional formulas to help improve your digestion, so please contact me. Otherwise, I hope it's helped you. And yeah, somebody asked another question here about food combining. I believe I have quite a few videos on digestion already over the years, and covering food combining in many of those. I'm not sure one is titled food combining, but I do cover it in greater detail in other webinars and videos that I did in interviews on digestion. But it's an important subject, eating the right foods for your type, doing the right food combining, and keeping your digestion strong. In fact, you should really monitor your digestion every day. When I'm doing my training in India, I ask the participants, how is your Agni? How is your digestion? Every day, every morning I ask them. Every meal I ask them. And of course, my son, I ask him too, how is your digestion? How's your appetite? How's your Agni? How do you feel after the meal? And that's by thinking about it, then you can tune into it, and then you can be aware of the imbalances that you have, and you can adjust the food accordingly, and you can take certain herbs to assist you and help you. These herbal treatments can be taken, these digestive ones I mentioned here, they can be taken for your whole life. I've taken many of these digestive formulas that I mentioned here, particularly this long-term digestion, which is a simple one, for 20, 30 years. Many of my clients have taken the same little herbal formula, just ginger, cumin, coriander tea, for decades. And it's very healthy and very helpful in keeping your digestion strong, and ultimately keeping your health very strong. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us and learning and sharing the knowledge, wisdom of Ayurveda. I've done my best to translate and interpret and explain my understanding of Ayurveda, but forgive me if I've made any mistakes. Feel free to correct me when this is posted on YouTube. And I look forward to your feedback and hopefully hearing from you if I can be of any assistance in any manner for any health condition. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Greetings from beautiful Southern California. I sincerely hope you learned from this video and benefited from all the information. This knowledge is not my knowledge, nor is this information new, but part of the ancient healthcare system called Ayurveda, the science of life. I hope my videos explaining the Ayurvedic approach in a simple and clear manner helped you to overcome your health issues. However, if you have a complex or serious health condition, I highly recommend that you contact me personally so I can meet with you here in my clinic in Ojai, California, or in an online conference call, so I can properly diagnose your condition and provide you with an individualized diet and custom herbal formulas. Then I will follow up and continue to support you until you have recovered. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel below and visit my website for more information, appointment fees, upcoming events, and my schedule, where you can book an appointment directly online. Thank you once again, and I wish you the best of health and happiness.